Welcome to the Kentucky Line. I'm Matt.
And I'm Clifton. And so, coming to you on what is the final episode of the regular season, Kentucky takes, at this point, what is kind of a common occurrence, an event we've seen too many times, an 84-77 loss to the Florida Gators. It's senior day. And one, I don't know, I just felt like it was a movie I've seen a dozen times. Get behind and try to claw back. But what were your first thoughts there, Matt?
Well, you said it. I think for me, it was almost like deja vu for about the eighth or ninth time, and I just wasn't. I had a hard time getting really engaged in the game yesterday, just because starting out 11 down 11-0 just kind of took and I was pretty excited going into the game, but that just kind of took the wind out of my sails. And you know, this team continues to uh, puzzle me. And on one hand, I will say Florida is better than us, so
Yes.
we should. I mean, could we have won that game? Yes, we could have if we played really really well. But we didn't. And this team continues to give up 11-0 runs, 13-0 runs. Every time we would make any kind of comeback, and especially in the first half, we cut it close to a point, and you know had some good things happening. And then it was almost an immediate 6-0. They'd score six in a row, and we'd maybe get a little closer, then they'd score eight, and it was just frustrating because I felt like uh, anytime we took a step forward, we were taking two steps back. And then in the second half, I thought we fought and we battled, but I don't. The game was never seemed to be really
It was
um,
over.
attainable. So anyway,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think Florida kind of they missed a couple free throws. I thought they made some bad decisions really that allowed the game to get from like a 10 or 12 point game down to what could have been a one possession game even late. But it never felt like anything Kentucky had a legitimate chance to come back and win. It was just kind of they backed their way into it. What bothered me was I felt like it was just um, a game where we really wasted what could have been a heroic effort from Owe. I mean, you don't get many games where he's 4 of 8 from three, and especially that first half, man, he was carrying them and trying to do everything. But outside of him, I really just felt like it was I don't know. I didn't think anybody really played great outside of him. Aberdeen had some spurts, but he was, didn't shoot the ball particularly well. So that even though he had some points, he had to shoot a lot of shots to do that. And then Diabate had a minute or two here or there. But ultimately, it's just like we said, same old, same old. Three things stand out to me. The first two are in combination. You have a team that's, they're flawed offensively at best. And that's what leads to some of those scoring droughts. And then when when you bring inconsistent effort on defense, that's why a team can go on two runs in the first half. That essentially is the difference in the game. You start out down 11-0, and then you claw back, and then they go on another run, and at that point it was just unattainable. So it's a bad combination when you don't have great effort on defense all the time, and then you struggle to score as it is. And then the last thing, man, it's just something that's become apparent here in the last month, and that's that Kentucky doesn't have uh, any depth at guard. When you have to take any of Chandler, Owe, and Aberdeen out, it's just a disaster for whatever reason. I don't think he felt comfortable playing Noah. I think that's because whoever you matched him up against, it was just going to be a glaring weakness. If it's the smaller guards, their quickness would have ate him up, and then if you put him on Howe, it's going to be a disaster,
yeah,
especially the way he played yesterday. And then Jasper Johnson's, I mean, I hate to say it, he's unplayable.
yeah. Well, I mean, Jasper again kind of showed uh, yesterday why he hasn't played much more than he has this year. Uh, I felt like he looked like was he almost looked like a high school kid out there trying to play against grown men. And I listen. I like Jasper, and I really believe that he's going to can be a really good player for us in the
Yes,
future. So I don't want to dog the kid. He's just not ready
not
physically.
ready
He's just
yet.
not ready. Um, and and you're right. We don't have any depth at guard. And that's the thing. You take it Oway out, Aberdeen, and Chandler, and of course Chandler. He didn't do
Nothing.
anything yesterday, and we just don't have anybody to come in and really give us some good minutes off the bench in any of those positions. And that's where, obviously, it is what it is when it comes to injuries. But that's where that really hurts us when we don't not having Cam Williams and not having Jalen Lowe hurt us
Yeah,
obviously in games like that. But here's one thing, and I don't believe in moral victory, so I'm not saying that this is a good thing or a bad thing, but the fact that Kentucky is the only team in 2 months that played Florida within single digits, um, and I do believe that Kentucky, if we uh, can put it together, we can make a little bit of a run. But I also believe that we could get beat, you know, the first game of the SEC tournament, and
without
that's just
question.
and that's just kind of where we are with this team.
Yeah. I just it's so hard. I mean, I think a lot of it's going to be driven by matchups. Who Kentucky draws in the NCAA is really going to think cap how far they can go. Um, this Florida team, like you said, they're a bad matchup all the way around, particularly when they're hitting shots. And right now, the first time we played them, it looked like an aberration that because they hadn't shot the ball well up to that point. But ever since that, for the last month of the season, Florida shot the ball as good as anybody, and I think that makes them a legitimate national title contender. And
Mm,
so, in saying that, Kentucky, as you said, played them as well as anybody. But it's going to take an A plus effort for us to legitimately have a chance to beat them, and we've not really come close to that either game. Maybe the first one maybe was like a B plus, and this one I thought was more like a C plus. We had moments where we might have been like in that B range, but overall I just thought it was outside of Oway. It was just a bad game. But I don't know, just anything else on the game. I feel like we've almost said everything you can say at this point because we've seen this game a dozen times this year.
yeah, I was gonna say I feel like it's just we've said these exact same things about 7 times this year in some of these losses, and uh, it just kind of with the season ending, regular season ending, and we finish with only don't get to 20 wins in the regular season. Now I know we can still get to 20 wins, but um, that's just disappointing, honestly. And I feel like this team is better than that. We definitely gave a few games away, over the course of the year, and uh, but I mean, hey, this we know what we're capable of. We've shown that we can beat some really good teams, and but yeah, I mean, I think as far as this game goes, bad Florida's a horrible. They're a horrible matchup for us. We can't. They really. We have to shoot the ball well from the outside to beat them because the driving against them, you're gonna score some, but as always showed yesterday, how many times did he take it in the second half, and it just they're just there. There's a 7 footer there blocking him or making it contesting the shot so much that he just kind of has to you know throw it up there and hope it goes in. They're just a tough team, and now it's time to put that behind us and see where see if we can get some magic in March.
So, have you saw the Yelovich quote after the game?
No, I haven't.
Okay. So, I thought this, I don't know, it kind of bothered me when I saw it. Not that he said it, I was glad that he did, but maybe it speaks to some of the inconsistencies. Here's what it was said. This is after the loss to Florida, and he said that he felt like at times Kentucky was kind of disconnected on the court. And the way he said it almost made it seem like, throughout the season. When asked to elaborate, here's the quote. He says, "Some guys won't touch the ball for 2 or 3 minutes, and they just need to be more mature, not be childish. They need to know that the game will come to them. They don't have to force it." And I don't know. I thought that spoke, saying we've
Well, I
got,
mean, I can think of a couple of people right off the top of my head that speaks to.
yeah. And so to me, that you were willing to say that, you can probably argue that may have should have been said 2 months ago. And I think maybe, he's just now in the starting lineup for the last month. He probably just now maybe feels like he's, earned enough credibility to be able to say that. But, he's a guy's played professional basketball in Europe. So he's seen quality effort, and he's probably seen guys slacking. He knows what both of those looks like. And ultimately, he's right. I mean, he's not a superstar by any means. He needs another couple years if he's ever going to have any hope of playing in the NBA. But you have to be consistent. You have to be able to bring it. And even when your shot's not falling, you've not touched the ball in a while, still play within the system. That's something Aberdeen's got a lot better at. At the beginning of the year, that
Yeah.
described him to a T.
W-
Still can at times, but you have to have that from everybody on the court.
Yeah, Aberdeen. Well, Aberdeen if you're at the beginning of the year, I mean, it got to the point where I about couldn't watch it because
Yeah,
he was just forcing shots up, just left and right, just taking bad shots, and he obviously uh, really settled into the role and has become about as good of a point guard as we could ask for, considering he's not a point guard. Um, and 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 then you've got guys like Diabate, who I think is one of the people that he's talking about. Because if you notice, when Diabate sometimes he'll get the ball and 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 you just know he's shooting it one way or the other. He is taking a shot. It doesn't matter if there's six guys on him. He's just going to shoot it. And so sometimes I just feel like, you know, some of our guys, we do that. We'll get the ball and they're just like, hey, I'm just taking it. It doesn't matter what the defense is. It doesn't matter what's happening. I'm shooting it this time. And so I can see where Yelovich is coming from a little bit because I feel like we do see that on the court.
yep. And then I just thought the last two games is almost like Pope has been, um, I don't know. It's like he's almost like surrendering, saying, "I'm not going to be able to get it out of this team." I think he's had hope for a while, and I think that's probably why you saw these extremes in press conferences and things. But I think he's just realizing I've messed up building this team. It's got flaws, and I'm not able. Or he can't figure out how to, you know, overcome them. Um, I think like we said the last game, and I think this was true yesterday. He's got some issues, some coaching issues. I think he waits way too long to call timeouts on some of these runs.
Mm-hmm.
I think he tries to wait until a TV timeout, and it really backfires sometimes. And and I just don't feel he knows what buttons to push, and he just seems. I don't know. He seems sad. I feel sad, I guess, watching him, but I don't know. He just seems defeated right now, and I don't know. I guess as a Kentucky fan, as we get ready to look for the SEC tournament, is there anything, or what would it be, whether in this tournament or the big tournament, that would make you think of this season as a success?
Well, I feel like if we can win two games in Nashville,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we really need to win two games in Nashville
Minimum.
if we want to be you know, taken seriously at all. But I think that we need to win 2 games in Nashville. We'll end up playing Florida if we do. And that's we know kind of how that's going to go, and um, and then get to the tournament. And personally, if this team were to somehow manufacture 2 wins and get to the Sweet 16 again, I think that that would be just and successful for what we've gone through all year. Now, it's not. I wouldn't call it a successful year necessarily, but after what we've been through all year with this team, I think that people that would I think that would heal a lot of wounds.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that. They're just, for me, like you said, that's probably what would, at least not look at this season as a failure. Um, you know, because it's hard to imagine this team getting past really a top 4 seed unless it was just a great draw or it opened up for you. So Sweet 16 feels like a ceiling for this team.
Yeah.
While last year I thought, right draw, Elite Eight, maybe if it opened up a little Final Four. I don't see that for this team. And I'm going to tell you, I feel like we should beat LSU. We should beat Missouri, even though they've beat us once at home. But Florida again, I don't think the third game will go like the other two. I feel like either that's a game we somehow win or they beat us by 40.
Yeah, I was going to say that's a game where I feel like could get really out of hand just because Florida is just so good. Like I said, we have to shoot the ball well um, to beat a team like Florida. Owe goes 4 for 8 yesterday. That uh, was huge, and you can't count on that. Like you said earlier, you can't count on Owe shooting 4 for 8 from the 3-point line. And so I don't know. I think that we're if we can get to Florida and somehow not get beat by 40 or some miracle happen and us win, obviously that would be huge. But and here's the thing, and I know we've talked about this before, and everybody seems to not want to talk about it much, but uh, take 3 starters off of any good team and tell me how good they are.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, just let's just call it what it is. Take 3 starters off of Florida. How good are they? And and it's still frustrating to watch. Don't get me wrong, because I feel like we still have the play. We've still shown that we can beat good teams with the team we have, and we've shown that we've given away some games with the team we have. So I don't want to. But facts are facts, and and when you basically have, and you can count Quaintance if or not count Quaintance, but I think that the coaching staff and Quaintance and everybody assumed that we were probably going to have Quaintance from the beginning of January on. Okay, so you and he's a and if we did have him, he was going to be a lottery pick more than likely. He was projected one anyway, and so it's just hard because it's hard to get yourself past how frustrating it is. And then I think Pope, I think part of his issues and part of kind of realizing, you know, that this team kind of is what they are right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, they're limited, especially like you said with what they have. I guess if I was just playing devil's advocate, I don't know how much those 3 guys, particularly like Quaintance, I think he's a lottery pick because his ceiling. I don't know if he's there yet. Defensively, I think he's a big difference maker. I think he's, a I just the way I imagine what I've seen him play, I think you're probably going to get similar offensive production from Marino, but a significant step up on defense. I do think his motor's better than a lot of guys. Marino, I don't ever feel like he's dogging it or anything, but so I don't know if it's a huge upgrade there. But over some guys, I think Quaintance has a better motor. But I don't know. I guess I'm down a little bit on Lowe. I guess the benefit would be you either get Aberdeen or Chandler to the bench, so you have a little bit of depth, and that probably makes things look a lot better. So it would no doubt help, but I still don't know if I think it changes the ceiling of this team a lot.
Well, I think it's just hard. I think it's hard to know for sure. I think when Lowe wasn't healthy one game this year. He was hurt before the season, and but if we go back to the St. John's game, Lowe and Quaintance both were studs
That's true.
in that game, and the very and Quaintance showed on the defensive end what a stud he was, and and I just think about what if we had Moreno and Quaintance playing the 4 and 5 against Florida. Well, guess what? That's a whole different ball game right there, brother.
That's true.
and and then you've got Lowe who can get anywhere he wants to on the floor and open up not only driving lanes but open up shots for Aberdeen because he became he can shoot the ball well and Chandler. I'm just saying, and maybe it wouldn't, but it's and then Cam Williams to me, Cam Williams I thought when he got hurt he was one of the main reasons we were playing as good as we were because
Yes.
he hurts us on both ends of the floor
Mm-hmm.
being out. He was starting to get his shot, and and I thought he was playing really good defense at the time because he can play the 3 and 4 depending on who we're playing. And so I really think he hurts us not having him, and and we may have had the same exact record, but I don't think that's the case. I
No, I
really
don't think
don't.
it'd be exactly the same. I think like the Georgia game, Auburn, Missouri, those are different games.
Yeah,
But I'm talking ceiling wise. I still
yeah,
think that this team probably has some flaws, but regardless, I think you hit the nail on the head with Cam Williams. I think for me, outside of Marino and Chandler, he's he's who I'm hoping they lock down to bring back as much as anybody.
yeah. I think he's going to be. I think he has potential to be really good next year. And, if he didn't start out the season in such a slump shooting, I mean, what he couldn't make a shot for about the first 7 games, and so I think people were thinking, "What the heck is going on?" But then once he kind of started making some shots, oh, he really kind of came along, and I thought was kind of an X factor for this team. And so yeah, I really hope we can lock him down. We better start locking some people down.
Yeah, you won't have to do it eventually. Well, let's talk just briefly. LSU. I mean, we've seen that game. To me, it's a team that's athletic. It's a game Kentucky was very fortunate. If you play those last 2 minutes, 100 times, we may have seen the only time we win it.
Yeah,
And but on the other hand, I will say it's as inconsistent as Kentucky's been, and as much you know rightful criticism as there is about the motor of this team. I do feel like they're playing better, and the motor is better than when we played LSU. What was it, the third or fourth game of the conference?
yeah, yeah,
So, I mean, just me personally, I feel like that's a game they're going to take care of business. Um, I feel like it's kind of the same way about Missouri. Um, and so I just hope we can go down there and, you know, it's crazy to get to Friday, win two to get to Friday. That is crazy that we're playing
yeah,
the first game of the tournament. But at least we ain't got to stay up late to watch them. I mean, it'll be over by the time we leave work
yeah,
Wednesday.
yeah. I'll be having to try to check out this check the score while I'm working that day. So I won't have to watch it if it's
bad.
if it's horrible. But yeah, I mean, listen, we should beat LSU. You know, Missouri's got a pretty good team. I mean, that's no gimme, but we should beat that. We should beat them. I mean, we should have beat them the first time we played them, and we didn't even play good that game at all. Um, and so I think we can beat them. And I just, this team. Here's my question: do you think that Cam Williams is going to, or Jaden Quains? I know there's been some talk. You think they're going to try to to suit up? I mean, I just don't know.
I hope so. Normally if this was a team where it was just rolling, I would say, let's not mess up chemistry. I don't know if this team has a lot of chemistry to mess up.
Yeah,
Like it almost feels like they're just playing a pickup game every time. It's just, I don't know. Just it was disheartening to me to see like with Florida, they are more talented in some respects, but they're well. I don't even want to say more talented. They're more well put together, but they just play relentless. And they talked about Dick Vitale talked about it a lot. Jimmy Dykes did it nauseum, but they will hurt you if you are not immediately back on defense.
yeah,
Whether it's off the rebound or even off a made basket, they can score quickly. And just that effort and that tenacity. And when you have a team that's already talented and then they play like that, they're capable of winning any game. And that's just what I miss, I guess, as a Kentucky fan, because, that's really what can be demoralizing for another team is just like, all right, hey, we hit a shot. Well, immediately they negated that shot with one of their own. And it's easy to kind of drop your head and be like, how are we going to beat these guys? Because they just pound and pound and pound. And they just bring it. And it's a team, I'll admit, they're fun to watch.
yeah. Oh yeah, they're good, and I enjoy watching them as well. I mean, they've got all the pieces that they need, but I do think Kentucky did play significantly better defense the second half,
Yes.
uh, and which is the only reason they probably didn't lose by 30. I like I said, this team they're just this Kentucky team is just it's just a puzzling team because sometimes they look like they can play and beat or at least play with anybody, and we just go through these sh- short spurts in these games against good teams because these really good teams they'll score 8 in a row and like that on us, and then but and put the lead out of reach or whatever. But it's usually just a few minutes of each game. It's just like we lose our minds, and if we could just keep that consistent effort, I feel like we will have a better chance at maybe pulling off something that nobody expects us to.
Yeah, I agree with that. Well, we'll go ahead and then wrap it up here. Like I said, it's kind of a shorter episode, but it's a game we've seen before this year. When we come back midweek, we'll talk about the LSU game. For better or for worse, we'll have a 13th region champion. The North Laurel girls won yesterday, so they're headed to state. I think they're playing George Rogers Clark the first round, kind of at the bottom of that bracket, and then should be a classic tomorrow night in the arena. Bell County and North Laurel. The first matchup went to overtime. Bell County won at Bell County, so I think not expecting anything less tomorrow, but we'll be here to talk about it later in the week, and we'll see everybody later. Go Cats.
Go Cats.